Hey folks, so in this video I wanted to talk about um, a trend that I see in a lot of doomer videos and some anti-natalist videos where the person speaking downs themselves. They tend to blame themselves, and there is a lot of self-blame and self-hate that's been perpetuated in the in doomer circles. I seen a video today on my lunch break, and there was this brother talking about how much he hates the fact that he's alive, and he was just pouring out his real, raw, suffering emotion. And I felt that, and I respected that, because I know how that feels to hate being alive in the fucking world that you did not choose. We didn't choose this shit. We were just thrown into it. And he was just really getting it off his chest. And I felt heavy for him, and I feel heavy for all of us, because we shouldn't have to deal with this shit. We shouldn't have to be the ones who suffer because of something that we didn't even do, something we didn't even choose. But I noticed that in the video he kept calling himself a loser, and he kept referring to his failings and feeling like a bad son, and all these other things. And I wanted to reach out and I wanted to hug him. I wanted to say, hey, I'm there for you, and just to express how it's relatable, having to vent all of that shit out and get it out your system, because I know how that pain feels, and it's a real genuine pain. But one thing I want to say to doomers and anybody else in the anti-natalist community: please don't take the blame on yourself for a world that you did not create, and for a world you had no say-so to be born into. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you were born into a world where money means something. It's not your fault that you have to work to survive on a planet that you fucking hate. It's not your fault that you were born into this world to experience all the suffering, pain, and hardships that come your way. And it's not your fault that you face these things, these struggles, because, the world, society, it was set up how it was long before we were even thoughts. Some idiot ass people thought that it would be a great idea to pay bills and to have to work like slaves just to survive on a fucking planet. And they built a whole society around that. They structured the world around that. But you didn't. This isn't something that you chose. You didn't choose this. You didn't choose to be thrown into a world where you have to, suffer and scrounge around for survival. You didn't choose to live in a world where money had to determine anything about you as a person. And so that's what I'm making this video about. And it's a sincere appeal to any of you to not base who you are around your money or your lack thereof. Don't feel inadequate because of society's standards. You didn't choose this shit. You were born into it. You didn't have a choice. And because you're having a hard time coping with it, because you're having a hard time dealing with it, that doesn't make you inadequate. It doesn't make you inadequate because you don't have a car, because you don't have a job, because you don't own a home, a fancy home or whatever. It doesn't mean that you're a loser. Fuck that. You're not a loser. You're somebody who was thrown into a shitty world against their will and left to pick up the pieces. You're not a loser for that. This world was perpetuated against you. You didn't choose it. You didn't create it. So don't allow fucking society, with all of its shitty stupidity, to make you feel worthless because of what you do or don't have. Fuck them, and fuck their idiot society. You didn't choose this shit. None of us did. And that's why I respect people who are able to just look this shit in the face and say, fuck it. You know, I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to sit there and let society tell me that I'm worthless because I don't have money. Fuck money. You know what money really is? Nothing. That's what it is. It's just a fucking resource that helps you to survive on this fucked up planet. That's all it is. It doesn't have any real value in and of itself. Money, cars, clothes, fancy homes, none of that shit means anything. It's all there to make existing bearable. And some people have a little bit more resources to use than others. But you know what? That doesn't reflect on who you are. It doesn't. All it means is that they have a little bit more that they can live on. That's it. It's all survival. Humans with their money, humans with their wealth and all this other shit, it's just survival. That's it. That's all it amounts to. You get a little bit more money to buy the food you like, or a house that you like, or a car you like. That's it. That's it. It has no real value beyond that. But it tears me up to see anti-natalists, and doomers take all this shit on themselves and start to feel like they're the problem, when reality is you're not the problem. The problem is you were born into a world that is hell. That's the problem. The problem is we were born into a shitty world by no fault of our own and stuck with it. That's it. And how you deal with that is, up to you. But ultimately, you have to know for yourself that none of this is your fucking fault. If you don't hear anything else from this video that I'm making today, hear that part. It's not your fault. You didn't ask for this. Don't take society's burden and blame it on yourself. Don't make society make you feel like you're worthless because you don't live up to their standard of survival. Fuck them and fuck survival. It doesn't really mean anything in the end, because you know what? All that shit can be taken away in a moment. The fucking stock market can crash right now and everybody will have $0 fucking dollars to their name. Money comes and money goes. And so does everything else in this fucking material hell that we live in. It's all temporary. All of it. The wealth, it's all temporary. The status, it's all temporary. The popularity, it's all temporary. Because at the end of the day, we are all going to die. All of us. And you can't take any of that with you. You can't. So why should you allow yourself to feel inadequate or like a loser because you don't have it or have enough of it? Fuck that. Determine your own worth. Be your own person. Determine that you are more than what society says you are. Because when has society ever done anything but be a fuck up anyway? They fucked up by making money a thing to begin with. They fucked up by making food something you have to pay for when it's something that grows out of the fucking ground for free. They make you pay for water. They make you work for water and for food and for shit that should just be there to live anyway, freely. They make you pay for that shit and work for it and slave for it. So fuck society, fuck their standard. Because it's dumb. And you shouldn't have to take the blame for it. Because it's not a world that you made. It's not a world that you chose. You find yourself in this situation. And I hate it for all of us. But it's not something that you did. So don't beat yourself up for not having enough. Don't beat yourself up for the mistakes that you make along the way. Because it's not your fault. None of us asked for this. The shit show landed in our laps. And we all deal with it differently. Some deal with it better than others. But you know what? Again, at the end of the day, it's all survival. That's all that's happening down here. But what makes you a winner is when you can look at this shit and realize that this world is a bunch of fucking facade and suffering and pain and toil for nothing. What matters is that you can see the world and determine that you're not going to bring another child into it to go through the same shit show that you had to go through. What makes you a winner is being smarter than your parents and not repeating their failure. Because they were the ones who chose to throw you into this shit when they had mindless sex and didn't care about the consequences. You can be better than that. And the fact that you know what this world is about, the fact that you can look at this shit and say, I'm not going to throw my kid into this. I'm not going to make them walk the same suffering road to death for nothing. That's when you can say proudly that you are a winner. You're the winners in society, not the fucking drones that work the machines and dress up and go to the fucking offices and still pop out more babies for the cog. Those are the fucking losers, if anything, because they're fucking drones, they're zombies, and they think that their material wealth means something when really it doesn't. Their status, their wealth, it means nothing. But what means something is being able to not go along with the crowd, being able to stand up against this shit and not perpetuate it via reproduction. And if you can look at the world and say you're not going to have kids because of how fucked up it is, you are that winner, bro. Sister, you are that winner. So don't beat yourself up about it. Don't beat yourself up about the pitfalls and the struggles and how you deal with them. Be proud that you can look at this shit and know how to go about it. Be proud that you are the ones who are not going to put your kids into needless suffering for nothing. Be proud of that. You're the winners.